This is the iPhone SE and it is now 2018. Last year we covered should you buy iPhone SE in 2017. Coming in on its second year on the market, is this phone worth your money? You might be saying, well, finally, the price of the SE is really low and I might want to pick one up. Well, that's what we're going to find out here in this video. Stay tuned. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Welcome to 2018. Should you buy the SE to kick off this series? 4-inch Retina display, Apple A9 CPU, 2 GB of RAM, 12 megapixel 4K camera, and a 1624 milliamp hour battery. Let's take a quick look at the hardware. Once again, it's the classic SE design, and this one you might be saying is getting stale, but some people still really do dig it. The camera design, flat and flush to the body here. Taking it down to the bottom, you can see those glass inserts in aluminum is just something you don't see on Apple phones anymore, and this actually might be gone on the upcoming SE successor. And here is the headphone jack, something you also don't see on any of the current iPhones anymore. We have our classic silent switch over here on the left, and we also do retain the Touch ID home button, which is going to be replaced with Face ID. I don't think we're going to see Face ID on the next version though, but on this guy you do see Touch ID. That is first gen, but it's plenty fast enough here for Apple's iPhone SE. And our classic power button up at the top. We also do feature that pretty weak front-facing camera. That's one of the downsides of this device. And at the bottom we do have that little speaker, but overall that's the hardware. I mean, I think a lot of people are still enjoying this hardware on the whole, and it's still very pocketable, very premium feeling, and portable. Now the screen, on the other hand, is something that I think could use some improvements, but if you're asking yourself should I buy it, it still holds up okay here. In 2018, it's a clear display, it's Retina, it has 326 pixels per inch, it's not full HD, it's not 2K, but in this size and this compact form factor, you know, it's fine. It does the job. It has night shift, no true tone. Now up close you can see we do have pretty crispy text here. So if you put on the bold feature like I have on, you really take away that little bit of pixelation that the SE does give you. And overall, it's not going to compete with nothing like the iPhone 10 or the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus displays with their higher contrast ratios. But coming in 2018, if you're thinking about buying this at its low price point, I think the display will still, even now, be just fine for the people looking for this device. Now, in terms of the software, you are running iOS 11.2.1 out of the box, 15C153. Depending on when your SE was manufactured, if you do pick one up, you might be running a different version. That's the official of this recording. Now, some of the new features that are included by iOS 11 have been the control center with the force press to go into some other features. There are some things still missing, and some people have been reporting bugs, but on the whole, this operating system does give you a slightly more polished look over some prior versions. Now, the battery life, on the other hand, we'll talk about later, hasn't been super impressive, but I think that if you're buying this phone right now, it's not going to be a problem when it comes to software performance at this point in the game, early 2018, and it should be getting better on future versions. So on the whole, I think it's a pretty good software. Not the best in the world, but pretty good. Now, the battery life, as I was talking about earlier, is an area that is not as good as it once was on iOS 9 with the SE. However, it's still doing about the same as my iPhone 7 Plus. So that phone has a much larger battery, and the iPhone SE is still getting a very similar battery life to that. I'm talking, if you want to know raw numbers, I'm talking about 5.5 hours on screen time, and standby time on all iPhones has always been solid, and it remains the case here. Now, in terms of sheer performance, it's pretty shocking that the SE is going on 2 years old now, and it runs like day one when it comes to just sheer speed. Now, like I said earlier, iOS 11 can be buggy at times. Sometimes you'll get a crash here and there, but this phone just pretty much flies through everything you throw at it, just like as in with day one. But that's not the only thing that matters with this device. I think what really matters here is its portability. So unlike a lot of other phones, a 6S Plus, an iPhone 10, even an iPhone 6 or a 6S, the SE remains the smallest iPhone in the lineup, and this matters for people who might have had a bigger phone. They want something more pocketable. I mean, look at the footprint of the SE inside of a larger iPhone, for example. It is just ridiculous. Now, we are looking forward to seeing more iPhones shrink the size with a bigger screen, But for now, this remains the smallest device you can get. And what I really liked about this is I never had to use two hands to operate this device. That comes into handy when you are, walking around and you got something else in one hand, your keys, and then you want to use your phone in the other hand. The SE is the way to go. Also, when you want to do activities where you need a light phone, this is the one for you. Now, the camera on the back, like I said, 12 megapixel 4K sensor on the rear there, and on the front you are looking at a less than great camera. I mean, it's under 2 megapixels here on the front. This should improve on the next edition of the phone, but with the f2 aperture here, this phone will produce pretty good pictures in good lighting. However, it's not the sharpest and it's not as contrasty and punched up like the iPhone 10, the iPhone 8, and 8 Plus of the current iPhone. So you are going to need good light, and I wouldn't zoom in on this phone. You do get some noise when you do zoom in, but if you need to in a pinch, it should work okay, just not fantastic. Now on the front, you do have a less than 2 megapixel camera here, and they need to update this seriously, but surprisingly, it doesn't perform that bad, and I think most people won't have an issue with the front-facing photos if you're using them too much. Now, they do have this feature where you can tap the button to go ahead and take pictures, which makes this feel like a little pocket camera, and I think this will be a great B camera. You do have 4K video recording on this guy. Now, in terms of phone call quality, we're talking about a phone that doesn't have great phone call quality. I can tell you that right now. The SE doesn't have a great earpiece, and it doesn't sound very good through the tinny speaker that is provided with this phone. It sounds the best when you put headphones in this phone and talk through like your Lightning headphones. So that would be the best application for phone calls for me on the SE. Gaming, on the other hand, is a different story. For around the price you're going to pay for an SE, especially if you find it used, Swappa, eBay, you find it on a second-hand place, not Apple, like $200 or so, or you can even get a prepaid phone on the SE for like $150 if you are in the States. You're going to not really find anything that can compete with this when it comes to gaming performance. This thing has a very good GPU and can run all the games you would want to run on mobile, but you have to deal with the smaller screen. So that takes me on to price. Price is the name of the game with the SE. It always has been, but even more so in 2018, you're now looking at phone prices that are in the prepaid segment. I mean, this is like, when it first launched, it was like $550. Here in 2018, you're looking at $200. You can even get it cheaper if you buy it secondhand from somebody. So should you buy the SE in 2018? What is the final verdict? Well, here's the final verdict. If you're looking for your first starter iPhone, it's still a recommendation. If you have an SE now, wait for the SE2. It's not going to match the iPhone 10 or any of the latest phones, but for a cheap price here, coming in 2018, you really still can't go wrong with this phone. That's it for me. I think it's okay. It's still a decent phone. We'll be covering other iPhones, continuing in the Should You Buy series. But if you found this one helpful, enjoyable, entertaining, informing, do me a favor, click that like button for me. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more tech videos. Have a great New Year's. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.